Greetings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Panos Hazandreas, a psychology professor and head of school at Kelebawi International Academy. Today, I'm going to talk to you about African psychology. African psychology. You may ask, African psychology? Why African? Human beings are human beings, whether you're in Africa, Europe, or Asia, or America. So why African? That is very true. There are some things that make us the same, common elements based on our common humanity, whether you're African, Asian, American, Latin American, Australian, etc. However, the way we interpret our humanity, the way we understand our humanity, to a large extent has cultural base. It's from the cultural context from which human beings live. It's from the historical context from which people live that they take out their definition of psychology, their psychological perspectives of what it means to be human. From an African perspective, African ontology, there is the creator, there is the invisible world, there's animals and plants, and there are events in life. Beneath the creator, there is a human being whose capacity for righteousness and equally so for destruction are even. So today we're going to talk about African psychology with the intention of reaching the height of human righteousness. How do we do that? Well, all things from an Afrocentric perspective work in systems. Systems within systems. Circles within circles. Circles within circles. Within my body, atoms, cells, body organs, body parts, physically, psychological, internal life, emotional life, mental life, spiritual life. All these are functioning within my individual being. But I also came through a family. So there's a system of family that I'm a part of. And that family is part of a community system. And that community is part of a system of a country or a nation, which in turn is a system within a continent. And a continent as a system, the African system, is also a part of the global system, which makes up the planet. And the planet is part of a system within a galaxy, the universe, etc. The same rules govern the atomic, cellular level and the universal level. That's what we're going to talk about. If you understand this, there is alignment that takes place whereby you'll be integrated within and without for the ideal mental health and physical as well as metaphysical or spiritual satisfaction. The first thing is that all things are interconnected. All things are interconnected. Within my physical system, all things are interconnected. My digestive system is interconnected with my neurological system. My emotional system is connected with my spiritual system. Me as an individual, eternally and fundamentally connected to my family system. Because if I say I'm a father, who do I need? I need my children. To say I am whatever I claim to be, I need something or someone outside of myself. I am a father because of my children. I am a husband because of my charming wife, etc. If I say I'm Ethiopian, to say I'm Ethiopian, what do I need? I need a group of people who have lived in a particular geographic location, mapped by a geographic territorial boundary for a number of years, and world systems have recognized that particular group of people and that particular history as Ethiopians and Ethiopian history. I need that. Without that, I can't claim to be Ethiopian. So all things are interconnected. It's like a spider web. There's an Ethiopian expression that says, አፍንጫ ሲመታ አይን ያለቅሳል. ምን አግብቶት ነው አይን የሚያለቅሰው አፍንጫ ሲመታ? It's because this expression is to indicate or to point to what in the Western world metaphysics points to. Quantum physics tells us the very same thing. So the first concept is to understand that everything is interconnected. Events that take place in North America affect our emotional state in Addis Ababa. Events that take place in China affect environmental conditions in South America. Everything is interconnected. The way the Earth rotates its galaxy affects other planets. That's the first thing to understand, the interconnection of all things. Now, let's look at internally who I am as a person. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a psychological life, I have an emotional life, I have a mental life, I have a physical life, and I have a spiritual life. I exist within a system. I'm a professional, that's a work environment. I'm a family man, that's a system. Each system may pull me in seemingly opposing directions. Within myself, I have feelings and I have thoughts. My feelings and my emotions might pull me one way. My emotional being, my emotional state might pull me one way. My mental state, what I think about, might pull me one way. So there is tension that's inherent in all systems. When the Earth revolves around its galaxy, there is a pull and push tension. Okay? That's where the concept of balance comes in. Ideal mental health at all systems is about equilibrium. It's maintaining that balance. Emotional life, mental life, emotional wants, mental wants, family demands, work demands. Some of you young people, you might want this thing, but your parents want you to do these other things. There's always tension when we exist and talk about systems. So the idea of balance is the idea that points to this notion of maintaining some kind of equilibrium whereby I'm functioning quite well at work, but I haven't abandoned my family. I have satisfied my emotional needs, but I haven't abandoned completely what my mind tells me to do. So that balance leads to what we call harmony. Harmony. A complete state of being whereby there is no tension strong enough to be disruptive in terms of being okay with one's self. Okay? The tension is there. The attempt to do balancing is there. If adequate balancing is done, there is a sense of being at ease, being comfortable in one's own skin, being in tune with one's own life rhythm, if you will, your own step by step. You're not tense. You're not trying too hard. Life seems to kind of flow. Okay, that's the harmony I'm talking about. And sometimes you may feel that harmony, that alignment, when you get into things that you are really passionate about, and you're doing it, and time seems to cease. What you really love to do deeply in your deepest of being, and the external actual work of doing that, the tension dissolving to an extent that there is perfect balance, that harmonious feeling is experienced when you get into that space. That's why at Labawi we say, be fully expressed. When you're in full expression and you have created this balance of external needs, wants, push and pulls, internal needs, wants, push and pull, a state of harmony naturally emerges. By the way, that's our natural state of being. Our natural state of being is one of harmony because the system is designed to be harmonious. Psychological, societal, etc., these tensions that pull us one way or the other create the tension, but if one is mindful that harmony is not created because you're already harmonious, it's uncovered, it's discovered. Meditation, prayer, all these things of coming back to your own self help towards that journey. Another aspect of African psychology is in the Western world, there is a cognitive epistemology. Epistemology means how do you know what you think you know? You might think that you know this or that. Well, how do you know that you know that? There are different ways of knowing. There are different ways of acquiring knowledge. From a Western psychological perspective, the scientific method is upheld as the highest form of knowledge acquisition. You set a hypothesis, you experiment, you test the hypothesis through experiments. In a lab situation, okay, you use the 5 senses, you dissect, you measure, you cut, and you come up with some kind of conclusion. That's one way of knowing, and it's very helpful. And it has given us profound medical, technological, and other advancements that have moved the human species from the dark ages into modern times. There is another way of knowing, and that's called affective epistemology. And that's intuitive way of knowing, that's heart knowing. It was Rumi who once said, what was said to the flower that made it open was said to me here in my chest. That's heart knowing. When you witness a beautiful sunset, you don't say, oh, the sun is setting because at 55 longitude and 68 degrees and at this time and that time. And no, you just know beyond knowing that something of magnificence is happening. Truth is revealing itself. That's heart knowing. African psychology gives more importance to affective way of knowing, affective epistemology. But it doesn't deny the importance or the significance of cognitive ways of knowing either. So we depend at base on affective ways of knowing, intuitive ways of knowing, and we add the cognitive capacity that we have to create the balance and the harmony that I was telling you about. This is the very basic introduction of African psychology. The 4 elements have been mentioned. The 5th element, I'm going to tell you what it is, but this is your assignment. The young lady in Mekelle that's watching, young man in Harar, whatever you may be, okay? This is your assignment. And in the next segment, you will come prepared after having defined the 5th element of African psychology, and that is authenticity. And I'm going to spell it for you. A-U-T-H-E-N-T-I-C-I-T-Y. Again, authenticity, the 5th element of African psychology. Authenticity. Authenticity as in to be authentic. In some African American traditions, you know, we say, keeping it real, authentic. A-U-T-H-E-N-T-I-C-I-T-Y, authenticity. So your assignment, young men and women, is to define what authenticity is. And if you feel like you have a good understanding of what authenticity is, you call the number that's displayed on the screen at Arts TV, and you say, I want you guys to tell Professor Panos that I know what authenticity means. I have defined authenticity. You give him your name, you give him your number, you give him your definition of authenticity, and as soon as I get that information from Arts TV, I'm going to call you, wherever you may be. I'm going to call you and tell you if you've gotten the right definition or not. And then hopefully from that, a new conversation will strike, and I will learn from you, and hopefully you will learn from me. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.